Anyway, the next topic is dictionaries. So, how do dictionaries write their pronunciations, right? Something you won't often be taught. The approach is really simple, but it has a lot of issues. It has a lot of benefits, but it also has a lot of issues, I think. So, dictionaries basically will, for their vowels, it's quite easy. Any long vowel, instead of being written with a father, will have this colon like symbol after the vowel to show that it's long, which is that's just an international sort of standard. And when it comes to consonants, slender consonants are written with this sort of sideways dash afterwards. So a broad B will be written just with nothing, and a slender B will be written with this dash, right? Now, there's two issues that I have with this. One, this dash, slender dash, looks really, really similar to the stress symbol, which is also really important in Irish. Stress is just emphasis on a syllable. I'm going to talk about that another time. But yeah, so they look too similar. It's not clear enough, and also that means you're leaving the broad consonants unmarked, right? As if they have no substance to them, right? So this is the main reason why in my videos, I'm going to use the IPA pronunciation symbols, which I'll just call pronunciation symbols for as a layman's term, right? But broad consonants have different pronunciation to English, and slender consonants also have a different pronunciation to English. So why would you mark only one of them? Why would you say, okay, this sound has been slenderized, whereas the broad sounds have also been broadened, if you will, right? When I talk about what actually makes broad consonants broad and slender consonants slender, this will make more sense. Another issue is, which is probably the origin for using the slender dash, is because Irish dictionaries were made so long ago, they only wanted to use symbols that are readily available to them, right? Now we have computers, right? We can do whatever we like, but they basically used most of the same symbols that would also be used to explain English pronunciation, right? So, first and most egregious example is F and V. The Irish sounds that a dictionary would describe as F sounds and V sounds are nothing like English F and V sounds, right? So, you know, when dictionaries first came out, they would basically say, if at all, people who really knew about Irish pronunciation would understand in the small writing that even though these sounds are being written with the English letters V and F, they're actually not pronounced similar at all, right? But if you're just a learner and you don't know any better, you're going to pick up a dictionary, you're going to look at the pronunciation, and you're going to say, okay, well, this is pronounced with a V, 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 and this is pronounced with an F, 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 whereas actually they should be which I'm going to get into, v and f, right? Yes, which are completely different sounds. But the benefits are that within the circle of making a standard like spelling for Irish pronunciation, it meant that there are symbols for every sound in Irish. So if you look up a website like Fuamana, you can list every sound in Irish, and like easily go through sound files. Which, yes, that's one benefit, but otherwise, is it really that great? No. So that brings me to, what dictionaries should you use and how? Especially when it comes to pronunciation. So, oh yeah, I forgot one more issue that dictionaries have with their pronunciation symbols is that Irish, like English does, can have quite long consonant clusters anywhere in a word. So, like, some English words start with stra, S-T-R. That's 3 consonants in a row. Same with English, or same with Irish. And if a cluster like that, let's say B or, if that or was slender, the dictionaries would basically have a slender dash after the or, and then allow the reader to assume that the B is also slender, right? Which is bullshit, because then you're spelling what is a slender B with the same symbol as a broad B. And it's just like, it's so easy to just go, okay, B dash slender B, or dash slender or, done. Now there's no confusion. You're saving like 1 second of writing a symbol. And it's especially important because, there's more complicated rules when it comes to S and when it comes to or, and sometimes in consonant clusters that have an S or an or in it, you can have a broad consonant followed by a slender consonant, or a slender consonant followed by a broad consonant. And, if every consonant isn't marked, it's just not clear to the learner what's happening. And you shouldn't force your learners to assume what, pronunciation is happening where. So I'll give a quick example. The word hospital, right, means hospital. And because of more complex spelling rules, which I haven't gotten into, which I will, the S is broad, pronounced so, but the P is slender, pronounced P, right? And if I wrote that in a dictionary, I'd have OSP dash, which makes me assume that everything before that dash is slender, which it isn't, right? It's just, it's just poor. Anyway, so that's my gripes. So yes, anyway, what dictionaries to use? What dictionaries to avoid? There's definitely many, many, many sources to avoid, right? Other people like Patchy, who is one of my many inspirations, have made videos discouraging learners or encouraging learners away from certain sources who teach the wrong sounds, who don't know anything about Irish pronunciation. And I mean, I could talk about that all day, but with dictionaries, it's a little bit of a different story, because most of them are fine. I mean, most of them are just lists of words, right? But you need to know how to utilize them properly. So yeah, any dictionary that's a book is probably fine, right? Just be aware of what system of pronunciation symbols that they're using, because sometimes, as I explained, they'll make decisions that makes it easier for them to type, but harder for you to realize that, you know, what exact sounds are being used. If you like an old dictionary that uses less standardized spellings, Dineen's dictionary is famous. It's brilliant. It isn't scared to use like really deeply important indigenous Irish words that have long definitions and that are really specific and really interesting, like words that wouldn't exist in any other country. Whereas, you know, this folklore polka, like, it's just meant to be basic, and you wouldn't find anything other than words that you've heard about before. So really recommend Dineen's dictionary. The main two online websites are Tonglan and Folklore, and they're both made by the same people from the same sources. The first thing I'll say is the audio files on both websites, they share the same audio files, are most of the time abysmal, right? They really, really aren't accurate. They say they're from native speakers, but they really just are poor, and they should be avoided. But everything else pretty much is quite good. Another gripe that I have with both websites equally is they never explain. There's no explanation of where words come from or where words are used, right? So most dialects of Irish, which I will explain how many there are in later videos, most dialects of Irish have unique words that only exist in their dialect, right? You know, what's even worse about it is they'll have certain words in their dictionaries that only exist in one dialect, and then they'll have speakers from all three dialects pronouncing the words, right? So let's say the word for soap. There's three words for soap for the three major dialects, right? So in Ulster they say something like sopa. Connacht they say something like galajach, and then in Munster they say something like galúnach. But so if you look at the word soap, all three of these words will be beside each other, right? But then with the pronunciation, all three speakers will be able to pronounce, will have an audio file for all three words. Whereas what they should have instead is sopa, Ulster Irish only, galajach, Connacht Irish only, galúnach, Munster Irish only, because you won't find an Ulster speaker that uses the word Galunach. The pronunciation simply doesn't exist in that dialect. You know? It's simple. It's like if I had, yeah, well, I mean, obviously, you know, they are able to pronounce those words in their dialect. That's why the audio files are there, but it's not accurate to what is actually being used. If I was a learner and I didn't know any better, I could open up that website. I could search up the word soap. I could read the first word I see, sopa, and then go along my merry way. But if I'm trying to learn Munster Irish, then I've, you know, learned something that I shouldn't have, and that's poor. So you have to watch out for that. Definitely just don't use the audio files at all. Most of them, you know, still use English pronunciation. The grammar is good on Tonglan. You know, both of them are quite quick. Like, they have good computing power and they give you all the information, except, again, Standard Irish is made up, right? It only gives Standard Irish grammar, only gives, or no, most of the time it gives Standard Irish words, and yeah, so you just need to watch out for that if you're trying to learn a specific dialect, which you should try learn pick one dialect, be as specific as possible to the place, and go head first into you know with being suspicious of everything, because you know you'll come across these websites that give you words, give you pronunciations that just might not exist in your dialect. And that's basically it. Also, avoid AI. So AI, as we know, takes information from massive databases, right, and uses that to make paragraphs to spit back to you. ChatGPT, Google AI now, it's everywhere. But the online data of the Irish language is actually so small, and even when it does exist, the language can be quite complicated, that at the point that AI is now, it doesn't understand how to explain Irish properly. So literally, whenever I look up anything about Irish on Google, the AI answer comes first, obviously, which you should be able to switch off. And 80 to 90% of the time, the answer is wrong, and very clearly wrong. It literally, AI does not know what it's talking about when it comes to Irish, because the data that it's basing it off, the websites that the AI has access to, there's just not enough information, right? So be wary of AI. Oh yes, and if you're trying to learn Munster Irish at all, but especially Cork Irish, there is a Cork Irish dictionary. Look it up; it's right there, and it's the holy grail. It really is amazing. There's also Put the Fuckle, which is alright. It kind of goes into more detail about words. And it's useful. I think I've seen Ulster Irish dictionaries as well. Yeah, try get dialect specific sources. And you'll be fine. And just be honest that about everything you find. Try and be able to filter what pronunciations are correct, what vocabulary finding, which dialect does it actually come from, and what software you're using and whether it actually knows what it's talking about. And terrible way to end the video, but unfortunately I have to say that's it, and that's just the basics, and I'll be deep diving into everything else next. Sinead Slán.